They told you to chase her. They told you real men fight for what they want. That if you don't run after her, you'll lose her. But what if I told you the moment you start chasing, you've already lost yourself? What if I told you that real power isn't in pursuit, it's in restraint, in silence, in walking away without a single word? Because when a man truly knows who he is, he doesn't chase, he chooses. He chooses peace over drama, self-respect over confusion, and dignity over temporary validation. This video will shake you, not because it's loud or emotional, but because it speaks the kind of truth most men avoid hearing. It challenges you to ask, what am I tolerating in the name of love? It forces you to reflect on how many times you've bent your boundaries just to keep someone close who only pulled further away. And by the end of this video, you'll see why the most dangerous man isn't the one who shouts, but the one who disappears quietly. No announcement, no explanation, just silence that hits harder than any goodbye. If you think strength is about holding on, you've been lied to. True strength is knowing when to let go without needing closure. True masculinity is knowing your value so deeply, you refuse to stay where you're not celebrated. And the most unforgettable message you'll ever send is the one you don't say aloud, the one you send by walking away. So don't just watch this video. Study it. Let it sink into the parts of you that needed this truth years ago. And if you stay till the end, you won't be the same man who started watching. You'll be the man she never saw coming, and the one she'll never forget. They told you that if you really care about her, you'll chase her. That if you don't fight for her attention, someone else will. That silence is weakness, and pursuit is proof of love. But let's strip the emotion away for a second and deal in psychological reality. Chasing isn't always love. It's often anxiety dressed as devotion. When a man finds himself constantly reaching, constantly trying, constantly proving he is no longer in love, he's in survival mode. He's been tricked into thinking his value must be earned through effort, rather than you recognized through presence. When a man chases, he enters a power dynamic that subtly shifts all the control to the other side. The person being chased now decides when he's enough, when he deserves attention, when he gets love, and when he doesn't. That isn't romance. That's imbalance. And imbalance never breeds respect. It breeds resentment. You can't be a man of value while constantly asking for validation. You can't embody strength while living on emotional scraps. And you certainly can't lead with masculine energy while begging for space in someone else's life. The truth is, masculine energy is not aggressive. It's grounded. It doesn't shout, it doesn't plead, and it doesn't chase. It waits. It observes. It acts intentionally. A man who knows who he is doesn't need to chase, because he understands that anything meant for him will never require desperation. He understands that relationships are not auditions, and he is not a performer. He is the prize, not because he says so, but because he lives it. There's also a deeper psychological layer to this. The more you chase someone, the more they subconsciously perceive you as less worthy. Why? Because we are wired to value what isn't easily obtained. We are drawn to what carries a sense of mystery, autonomy, and control. The more you run after her, the more you condition her to believe that she is the one with the power, and you are the one seeking approval. Even if you have good intentions, the message you send is clear. You are the prize. I am just lucky to be here. And that's the beginning of emotional erosion. Real men don't operate from emotional neediness. They operate from emotional intelligence. They don't force connections. If they allow people to reveal themselves. If a woman is unsure, inconsistent, unavailable, he doesn't panic. He doesn't chase clarity. He becomes the clarity. His silence says, I don't fight for a spot where I'm not welcomed with certainty. Because here's the thing. Your energy is currency. Your time is a resource. And your love, that's a gift. The moment you start chasing, you give all three away without a guarantee of return. But when you walk away, calmly, confidently, silently. You communicate something that chasing never could. I know what I bring. I won't spend my life proving it to someone who doesn't see it. You don't build attraction by running after it. You build it by walking in purpose, walking in power, and being unshakable in your standards. If someone wants to join you, they will. If not, they'll remember the day you stopped chasing and started walking. Let them feel your absence. Let your silence teach what your words never could. And remember, when you truly know your worth, chasing becomes beneath you. Silence is misunderstood. Most people think it's passive, weak, even cowardly. But when it comes from a man who knows his value, silence becomes a weapon more powerful than any confrontation. You see, when a man chooses not to argue, not to explain, not to beg, but instead to walk away quietly, that silence becomes a mirror. And mirrors don't lie. They reflect everything the other person refused to acknowledge, until the moment they realize they can no longer access you. When you walk away without a word, you create space for the other person to feel the weight of what they lost. It's not your voice they remember. It's your absence. And the louder your presence was, the more deafening your silence becomes. Because when a man has been consistent, kind, reliable, thoughtful, when he's shown up time and time again, and suddenly he's just gone, it shakes the foundation, not because he raised his voice, but because he removed his energy, his peace, his effort, his love. And this isn't about manipulation. This isn't about using silence as a punishment. No. This is about emotional discipline. It's about reaching the point where you know that your presence is a privilege, not a right. And when that privilege is abused, neglected, or taken for granted, the only response required is your quiet withdrawal. Because anything more than that, any chasing, any explaining, any begging, only waters down your dignity. It puts you in a courtroom, pleading a case that should have never gone to trial. What most people don't realize is that silence leaves space for truth to surface. When you stop talking, people start hearing themselves. They hear their own excuses, their own guilt, their own accountability echoing in the space you once filled. And while words can be debated, silence cannot. It is absolute. It doesn't ask for validation. It demands reflection. It forces the other person to sit with the question, why did he walk away without saying a word? And that question lingers. It festers. Because the mind hates unfinished stories. It will replay every interaction, every moment, every sign it missed, trying to understand what your silence meant. And in that process, it often comes to realize something far more powerful than any speech could deliver. You were never the weak one. You were the anchor. And now that you're gone, everything feels unstable. The psychology behind this is simple. Humans are wired to respond to contrast. When something consistent disappears, we notice it more than we ever appreciated it while it was there. That's why silence is such a powerful teacher. It reveals to others what they couldn't see when they were too distracted, too entitled, or too emotionally immature to recognize your value in the moment. So when a man walks away silently, he doesn't just leave. He educates. He doesn't just exit. He elevates the situation to a level where only self-awareness can reach him. No final texts. No explanations. Just space. And in that space, transformation happens. Not just for him, but for anyone who misread his quiet strength. You don't need to announce your departure to make it impactful. Sometimes, the most unforgettable exits are the ones no one saw coming, because they were too focused on themselves to realize you were slipping away. Remember this: words can be ignored, blocked, twisted, but silence is eternal. It rings in the mind long after you're gone. So don't raise your voice, raise your standards. Walk away with quiet strength, and let your absence be the loudest message they ever hear. A man's value isn't just measured by what he builds, what he earns, or how much he can provide. It's defined by what he refuses to tolerate. It's not about ego. It's about self-respect. The moment a man starts tolerating disrespect, inconsistency, emotional neglect, or being an option instead of a priority, he begins to lose pieces of himself. And the most dangerous thing, it rarely happens all at once. It happens quietly, slowly over time, in moments where he tells himself, "It's okay. She's just stressed. I'll be more patient. I'll try harder." That's the trap. Men are taught to endure, to fix, to be the rock no matter what. But sometimes the strongest thing you can do isn't to stay and endure. It's to walk away and never return. That's when you show the true weight of your masculinity. Not in how long you suffer, but in how clearly you set your boundary and stick to it. Let's be real, people will only treat you as well as you require them to. If you allow her to speak to you like you're nothing, guess what? She'll start believing it. If you show her that you'll keep showing up, no matter how cold, unavailable, or manipulative she becomes, then she has no incentive to change. Why would she? You've already taught her that you'll stay, no matter what. That you'll chase, explain, forgive, repeat. And that cycle doesn't break because she wakes up and suddenly values you. It breaks the moment you stop playing your part. There's a deep philosophical truth here. Tolerance defines trajectory. What you allow today becomes your reality tomorrow. And a man who doesn't know where to draw the line will end up crossing his own. He'll bend so much to keep the peace that he eventually breaks in silence. And no one even notices. That's how the self erodes. Quietly, internally, in the name of love, in the name of being a good man. But what if being a good man isn't about sacrificing yourself? What if it's about protecting your integrity, even if it costs you the relationship? Because here's the truth no one tells you. When you protect your standards, you protect your soul. You keep your mind clear, your heart whole, and your future open. You leave space for the right people to step into your life. People who see your worth, not because you convinced them, but because you embodied it. And for the women watching this, yes, you may not like this truth, but you need to hear it. If you're with a man who respects himself enough to walk away from nonsense, don't mistake his silence for indifference. Don't test his boundaries thinking he'll always come back. Because when a real man walks, he's not walking to punish you. He's walking because he refuses to become less of himself to keep more of you. So, men, guard your peace like it's sacred. Stop negotiating your standards in the name of love. Stop confusing patience with permission. If she can't match your consistency, your depth, your honesty, step back, not out of anger, not out of revenge, but out of wisdom, out of self-respect. You don't rise by being more agreeable. You rise by being more aware of your worth, your limits, and your non-negotiables. Remember this: a man who knows his value doesn't wait to be chosen. He chooses himself and walks away from anything that costs him his peace. Let your standards speak louder than your words. Let your silence speak louder than your arguments. And let your exit be the turning point in your life where you finally stop proving and start choosing.